Welcome back, Hang Squad. It's Sharon and Lauren at Joy of the Hang. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Sharon. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. I'm excited to talk to our guest today. We have Charlie Shrem with us.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Charlie and his beautiful wife, Courtney, has joined us as well. Welcome back.
Hi. Good
Hey.
to be here.
Good to see you again. So a little bit about Charlie. For those who don't know who Charlie Shrem is, he's one of the first investors in Bitcoin and started a company called BitInstant back when he was in college. And it's so much more than that, but we'll start with that. And tell us a little bit about how that all happened, Charlie.
I guess you can say I was in the right place at the right time. But going back to 2011, I was just a junior in college. I was studying at the City University of New York. And I was just studying like math and economics and business finance, kind of whatever classes were interesting. I was taking Shakespeare and all these random, soccer and all these random classes and stuff like that.
Soccer? Wait, you threw soccer in after Shakespeare?
Yeah, Shakespeare, soccer.
That's
I
great.
actually studied like abroad, and this was like a great coup. I studied abroad, and the teacher just owned a bunch of like restaurants in Italy, and he was supposed to be teaching us like culture and all these things. He just walked us around to his restaurants all day, and we played soccer some days. But then when I went back to college, they sat me down and they were like, all right, so you have to convert your credits from studying abroad to credits here. So what did you do? I was like, oh, we did Italian math. We did all these crazy subjects. And they gave me the equivalent of like that I didn't have to do these same classes in Brooklyn.
Fucking brilliant.
It's like all these little things, like little life hacks that you got to kind of like see the opportunities and take them. But that's kind of how I fell into Bitcoin. I was hanging around these chat rooms a lot. I was like an early 90s kid, late 80s kid, but I grew up in the early 90s on the AOLs and the AOL Instant Messengers, and those are like my social circles, chat groups, and kind of like the first social interactions of the world were like messaging people on AOL, what's your screen name, nothing much, you, what's up, all those kind of like things. And so it wasn't weird when I was in this chat room one day that someone started talking to me about Bitcoin. Wasn't immediately turned off because I was used to finding a lot of cool like nuggets on the internet. And I remember I was just in working on a different like charity and helping this charity raise some money, and their PayPal account got frozen. And when I had first found out about Bitcoin, it was really cool because you had this software that enabled this new type of digital currency. But what was really exciting for me about it was that everyone could be their own bank, and everyone could start a Bitcoin wallet this was like pre-crypto and pre-altcoins and all these other things. This was the idea of like everyone can start a Bitcoin. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are from, but as soon as you start a wallet and you get some Bitcoin, even though it's not worth anything, and not that we said it could be worth anything, but even though it wasn't worth anything, it was still like this internet money that we can send between each other. And no one can reverse it. No one can freeze it. No one can tell us you can't use it anymore. PayPal, I was like a big gamer, and PayPal shut down a lot of accounts of gamers all the time. It was always like a game of whack-a-mole with internet money as a kid. And this was like the first time that you had this internet money thing that instead of being run by one company, if you're a holder of it, you're part of the corporation, if you will. So you're involved. Everyone has a vote. As long as every other Bitcoin holder in the world at any given moment doesn't say, oh, I want to freeze Charlie's account, which will never happen, then there's no one who can really have more power over you. And that's not only with financial transactions, but all sorts of things on the internet, data, money, your different content, even the value of this audio content that you're creating now, like you own it on this Web3 future. That was all kind of created out of.
But to
of Bitcoin.
really dumb it down a minute for myself, at least, maybe others, but definitely for me, to dumb it down, you're saying everyone could be their own bank. So if I'm online and I decide I want to have some Bitcoin, what did I just gave myself like
no, you were just
100 units or how?
Yeah, it's exactly what you're doing. Back in the day, you would go to bitcoin.org, which was a website that was created, and you'd click download. You download the software, just like you run audio software for this podcast. You'd run the Bitcoin software, and you'd go make a lunch, and you'd come back in an hour, and you'd have a couple of Bitcoin sitting there.
Wow.
But
was
then,
like baking.
But then back in the day, it had no real value.
Exactly.
So you were taking a lot of risk.
You were
right?
you were taking the risk that you were taking because you weren't buying it, but the risk that you were taking was like reputational risk. You couldn't talk like, oh, if you had this career in this Bitcoin thing, people thought you were crazy. You couldn't really take it seriously. Starting a business in Bitcoin was seen as like you were like a crazy person because why would you do that?
Yeah.
It was a huge risk.
But you weren't buying anything real with it, weren't they? Just sort of using it for video games and
that's how the Bitcoin
to buy yourself
community-
a knife or a gun to, kill the hooker that wasn't doing what she was supposed to be doing in your video game. That was my impression.
That's exactly what it is. Bitcoin
got it
started.
right.
Think of like a community of like a bunch of nerds and gamers, guys and girls and stuff like that. And it really just started as like they thought this Bitcoin thing was cool and they wanted to be a part of the community. And the community was like just like a chat room, like it's like a social experiment.
Okay.
It's like it was just like this Bitcoin thing is cool. It's not worth anything. Oh, you have the software. Give me your address. I'll send you. And it was like sending someone Bitcoin was like you're part of the club.
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
It wasn't value. It wasn't. But then what had happened was it was cooler to have more Bitcoin than other people. Not because it had value, but just it was cooler. Like people wanted to brag. Not like people
So
weren't
it's kind of like
publicly
Pokemon
bragging.
cards.
Exactly.
It's kind of like trading a Pokemon card.
Yeah.
Right? Is that a good
Actually,
analogy?
it's a perfect analogy because the only other Bitcoin exchange that predated mine was this one called MountGox.com. And Mount Gox stands for Magic the Gathering Online Exchange. It was literally a website set up to trade Bitcoins for Magic cards, like
Okay,
trading
yeah.
cards. It was literally
So very similar.
the same
That makes
community.
sense. This all
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, people literally make like trading cards of me and pictures of me in court and all these other Bitcoin OGs with like different pictures and stuff, and they trade them around. And like Bitcoin is literally like just like this trading card, and the more Bitcoins you had, the
They had
more it was
cards
cool.
with you on them?
Yeah, there's always like trading cards. over the
How'd you
years.
look on the cards?
Well, one of them they make me like look like a gorilla, so it's like all hairy, like I'm a green monkey.
Isn't it ape?
Yeah, it's like an 8 Pepe Cash.
Pepe Cash. Yeah.
People have created tokens, but Bitcoin was a club. Yeah, that's really
Okay.
what it was. It's a good way to describe it.
So you're in college and you're deciding, rather than investing in the stock market, or did you also invest in the stock market? I'm trying to understand the difference.
It's a good frame of reference.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends in that age, you start to dabble in stock markets and learning, and I was like in economics, but we had just had the Great Recession. So it was 2011. The stock markets were in the dumps. The real estate was in the dumps. Every asset in the world that was investable, everyone was telling you don't buy. Like the world is going to crap. Like that. Those were the years. So I'm like studying for this worthless degree because they're telling me as soon as I graduate, I'm gonna have no job. The pictures on TV were of like the guys at Bear Stearns who have all these PhDs. They're getting fired. So how am I going to get a job
And
when I barely
jumping out
have
of
a degree
windows,
yet?
right? They're jumping out of windows.
They're jumping out of
Yeah,
windows, and that's what was
exactly.
happening. So the
Yeah.
Bitcoin world was created out of that. It was like a new money, but at first it was a club. I had like an online e-commerce business that I was paying my way through college that way. But when I found Bitcoin, I saw a potential because going back to the club analogy, because this is like the best way to describe it. What had happened was there were only two ways to get Bitcoin. Just keep your computer running for as long as possible, but then you need more and more bigger computers. Or because when you're doing that, you're running your computer, you're participating in like a supercomputer. So imagine if all these computers combined create this one large computer.
So you get credit for the
credit.
longer you're playing.
Exactly. You're actually just verifying other people's transactions. So you're participating in that in real time. But the only other way was like this faucet, which gave away free Bitcoins that we actually contributed to. So like I gave away like millions of Bitcoins.
Why?
And then-
Why would you give away Bitcoins?
I don't know. It was just this idea. Some guy created the Bitcoin faucet, and I wanted to take over. I read an early email the other day of myself emailing him saying like, I want to help you run this faucet. And I'd started the Bitcoin Foundation, this nonprofit, but that led me into starting a Bitcoin exchange because I saw that there was enough of a demand in these chat groups for people that wanted to buy and sell Bitcoin. So we started a company to make it easy for people to buy and sell Bitcoin.
Okay. And this is where actual money comes into play. Like you literally, so explain to me how you start that. Let's say I'm, an end user. I want to buy Bitcoin. Do I like put my credit card, info in?
So the problem, it's a great question. So Bitcoin, remember, Bitcoin is, it's no one can reverse it. No one can freeze it. Once you send a Bitcoin, there's no chargebacks. There's no reversing it. So we had a problem. This was the general problem. No one could ever have a successful Bitcoin exchange because there was so much fraud. As soon as people use credit cards, they would reverse the charge, and American Express doesn't recognize a Bitcoin transaction. So you'd automatically lose. So there was a huge problem in converting this from this nerd community into like, most people like want to go buy some. They don't want to run a computer. They want to go on a website and they think this is cool. They want to get some, set up a wallet. So we actually, at first, we basically opened up bank accounts in all the major banks. And we basically set up this thing where you can walk into a bank, deposit cash into our account, and you'd get a certain amount of Bitcoin automatically. It was like almost like you could only do cash and checks because they were the only, and then eventually that wasn't scalable because we were like having to manually log into bank accounts and check all the transactions and match them up with people's. It was like,
sounds like a nightmare.
This was banking software. Your listeners are like, well, why don't you use a banking API? If you called a bank up and said, hey, let me use your software to verify, it didn't exist. This is how we did it. We had a cheat. What we did was if you wanted to buy $50 worth of Bitcoin, we would tell you deposit 51 and 3 cents. And then if you wanted to do $50 also, it would be 52 and 73 cents. So we matched the exact deposit amount with your account. That's how we knew whose deposit. It wasn't scalable.
Yeah, good
that is
God.
So then we made a deal. Somehow New York City is the most amazing place in the world. You can make deals with everyone. Like I was a kid, I somehow got in touch with MoneyGram and I made a deal with them. And then that enabled me to like have 1 million locations in the US. So you can walk into like any Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Duane Reade, and you can pick up this red phone that they had in there. Yeah. And you can do a transaction in real time and it was all automated.
What year was that?
From 2012 to 2014.
Wow. So you were 23 at that point? Wow.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that red phone, but I was like, is that like the Batmobile phone? Or like, I have no idea what, but I guess it kind of was.
We were the largest Bitcoin exchange for a couple of years.
So Charlie, what is the difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? I thought they were one and the same.
It's a good question. And I can continue to use the timeline to explain it. So in those days, it was just Bitcoin. Financial transactions. Bitcoin is the network which you can send it, but it's also the currency itself that eventually started to gain value as people wanted to buy it from us. Price started going up. People started making some money. Bitcoin price went to $1, $10, $100. But still, most people never really heard about it. This was the early days. Courtney and I had a friend, his name is Vitalik Buterin, and he was a writer for Bitcoin magazine. And one day he came up with an idea and he said, hey, this Bitcoin thing is super cool, but why can't we do more than just financial transactions? What if every Bitcoin wallet was like a smart computer and everyone's wallet could be like AI and do automated transactions and start to do smart contracts and all these type of crazy buzzwords that you hear. But the idea is like instead of sending, just having like telephone wire, he said, why can't you do plumbing and piping and electricity, and you can do all sorts of different types of things on the same type of financial like infrastructure? Well, he called it Ethereum. So Ethereum was the second one. You had Bitcoin and then you had Ethereum. And that's kind of the fork. When people talk about crypto and then they talk about Bitcoin, Bitcoin is kind of a separate thing, and then everything else is crypto. Everything else kind of falls under those altcoins, and they all do different things. And it's kind of like there's millions of different coins today, but Bitcoin is always Bitcoin. And then because it was created in a fair way and it was distributed slowly over time and it was the first one and no one controls it, but every other cryptocurrency that exists, there's someone behind the wheel. There's an owner, there's a creator, there's a company that founded it. And so that's the major difference.
Like Ethereum is
Vitalik,
Bitcoin
yeah.
is the vehicle of Ethereum. So Bitcoin was the very first cryptocurrency.
Right.
Bitcoin was the one.
They
Yeah.
all stem from that.
And they stem from that.
Yeah. So I know, like, I think there's a lot of concern or from government agencies because, correct me if I'm wrong, because you know, Bitcoin and crypto is not backed by any sort of, like gold, like the US dollar is backed by gold, the gold standard, right? So where does a Bitcoin get its value? Will it continue to grow in value? Will it, you know, do you understand what my question is?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's like really what gives Bitcoin its value?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many speeches over so many years I gave on the same subject, and a lot of times we'd go over and we'd say, well, what gives gold its value? Really the same, like there's no difference between Bitcoin and gold. Gold is just a rock that you come out of the ground. Mm-hmm. But what has given gold value over thousands of years is the fact that for thousands of years people prescribe value to it. And that's
a
literally
great
the only reason.
analogy
Yeah.
because now you're saying that, and I'm like mind blown. You're gold. It's just a rock. Why? What? Because I have it in my house sitting there.
You can make beautiful jewelry with it. You make beautiful jewelry with other rocks too. It's silver, and we all have our favorite stones. Yeah, we make jewelry with Bitcoin, but you have beautiful stones, sapphires, and really the value of those different stones are just sometimes different stones are hot at different times, and diamonds now are going through their thing because they're lab grown. So I mean, they're just at the end of the day, they're rocks, they're minerals, they're things. Certain of them have value because you can do things with them, like make batteries, like lithium, and you could have rare metals. Like under the Ukraine, there's a lot of these rare metals that you can make computer chips with. So like, you know, there are certain metals that are so thin and lightweight that electric moves over it like it's an ice skater over ice, like smooth. So obviously those have value. But Bitcoin now has value just because over the last 15 years, so many millions and millions of people have wanted it. They've wanted to be a part of the system. There's a value in being able to immediately send millions of dollars or even 10 cents to someone anywhere in the world at any given moment. Like even till today, if you want to do business with anyone in the world, the easiest thing to do is to set up a crypto wallet with some Bitcoin and maybe some stable coins of USDT and USDC. Because any business that you do anywhere in the world, especially in digital world, no one will not accept crypto. But how do you pay those people? How do you pay people in China now? How do you pay people in Vietnam? It's a whole process.
It is a whole process, but to again dumb it down, and everybody listening, myself included, always likes the idea of thinking you can invest, make money back. So let's say someone's sitting here today, our listeners, and they have, you know, an extra $1,000 they've saved up. You know, is it wise to invest in Bitcoin? Should they invest in Bitcoin? How do they invest in Bitcoin? Can they make money back immediately? Would it take a while? Is there like 90% chance they'll lose the money?
I always kind of tell people that whatever car you drive, I just made this up the other day actually, but it's a great analogy. Whatever car you drive, whatever the value of your car, that's how much Bitcoin you should own.
Interesting. Why? Why?
Because the value of the car will continue to go down over time, but the value of that Bitcoin will always go up, and it always has gone up. Bitcoin is an inflationary asset. It's built to just go up. Other than Bitcoin and maybe real estate, there's no other asset that I would ever recommend people hold. Everything else we own is deflationary. It just goes down in value. Even our clothes, our handbags, my jewelry, even gold. My friend who's a jeweler, he tells the story how he got into jewelry because his dad lost all their family wealth in gold. His dad took a big bet on gold doubling and tripling. They bet his house and went down. So it's like all these things end up going down in value. The dollar loses money in our bank accounts every single day. Even if we're getting interest on it, it's just the purchasing power of things. Everything has gone up. Everything costs triple now that it used to cost before 2020.
So no one's lost like millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars doing Bitcoin?
Not on Bitcoin. Not on Bitcoin specifically, and not on Ethereum and some of the major coins. I
think it's more the crypto that people were getting burned
Yeah.
more than Bitcoin.
Now, because Bitcoin, in the spirit of the internet, anyone can start their own Bitcoin. So what ends up happening is a lot of people start really cool projects. They get a lot of money invested. They build some really cool things. A lot of people hear about it. It goes up in value. You hear about these things, and a lot of people make a lot of money on really cool things. But on the other side of it, it's very easy for scammers to create a coin, tell unsuspecting people, and then sell it all before those people sell it. Pump and dumps.
So yeah, because
That's what happens all the time.
President Trump, didn't he create his own Bitcoin? Is that
he created his own coin called Trump coin, and Melania created a coin. The meme coin world is very interesting because the government just came out the other day and even said that meme coins are not investments.
meme coins?
Meme coins.
MEME?
No, a lot of these cryptos, no one is buying them expecting to get a return. No one should buy Trump coin expecting, it's not an investment. The SEC literally said, if you bought Trump coin thinking that it's an investment, you're a moron. Because who's investing? An investment is something, and I have to be very harsh because a lot of people end up putting a lot of money into these scam coins. Don't do it. You'll lose all your money. And I know you see it on TikTok and I see it on the internet. It's very easy to figure out. There's one website I tell people to go to, Messari.com, Messari. It's just a website. If you hear about a coin, type it into Messari. If they don't have a page on it with a score, then it's a scam. They're just a great way to see.
Okay, that's a great way to see it. Because
type it
there are
in.
a ton of scams out there.
Another one is coinmarketcap.com. Type in the coin, and then it has a number next to it. If it's not within the top 2,000 of all coins, it's probably a scam. Most of the coins people tell you about are probably not even listed on those things.
So I looked it up today, and the value of Bitcoin fluctuates by the minute, is what I'm gathering,
Crazy.
right?
It's
Is that
crazy,
correct?
right?
So it's currently trading at, and I don't even, is that the right word, trading?
Yeah.
It's currently trading at around $90,000 per Bitcoin.
What?
Yes. Yeah. So if
For
someone...
one coin.
So if somebody wanted to buy, like you said earlier, $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and it's trading at 90,000, how does one go about
You just buy a portion.
You can get 89,000 friends.
No, you can get
buy a portion.
You can get $1,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be a whole one. It can be split. It has 8 decimal points.
Yeah.
And there'll only ever be 21 million total Bitcoin in existence, and there are only 18 million
Why
now.
is that? Why is it capped at 21 million?
Well, the creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, set it as a hard cap because he wanted to make a point of it. Unlike dollars and gold and all these other things, where there's an infinite supply, there's no infinite supply of Bitcoin. And it's not like they're all going to come into existence today. It's a slow drip over the next couple hundred years. So it'll always be, like gold. They're finding new gold every day. They have mines in South Africa and stuff like that. There are Bitcoin miners that are verifying those transactions, like the people running their computer in the early days, but they're running it on these big supercomputers and epic data centers. They're getting a piece of the new Bitcoin that comes into existence every day.
So do you own a lot of Bitcoin?
No one really should talk about how much Bitcoin they own because there's a lot of robberies and thieves. There was an influencer just the other day in the UK, and she did a live stream and posted that she had $20 million worth of Bitcoin. And a week later, they robbed her house at gunpoint in the middle of the night. This just was in the news. And luckily, she was armed herself. She shot one of the intruders off. It's amazing. I know. She literally shot. That's why I'm telling my wife carries, you got to carry. Everyone needs to carry guns, especially if you're in the crypto space. I'm lucky that I pretty much lost most of our fortune when I went to prison. So, yeah, I'm not really a target.
So, since you brought it up, do you mind if we talk a little bit about the time you went to prison? And
that's all I ever talk about. All the time.
Yeah, I know. And Charlie was interviewed on 60 Minutes by Anderson Cooper, and you guys kind of did a deep dive on this. And I'm sure you've done it on several other podcasts.
I was in sandals.
It was in sandals. And what was the day that
Notre Dame was burning when he was getting interviewed?
By Anderson?
So I know the year. That was 2020 because I ran
the
Paris Marathon that year. So it was.
So yeah.
It was May or April of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we
It was
move,
right before COVID too.
yeah, I mean, before we move on to that, I just also want to tell everybody, our listeners, that Charlie also has his own podcast, and if you're interested in learning more about Bitcoin, you can look. Charlie is the name of your podcast is the Charlie Shrem Show. So definitely tune into that and follow him for more information on Bitcoin. So I've got in 2014, correct me if I'm wrong, at age 25, you were sentenced to 2 years in prison for aiding and abetting the operation of an unlicensed money transmitting business related to the Silk Road marketplace. First of all, what is Silk Road?
Silk Road was an early eBay or Craigslist type of website where you can buy and sell anything, and the only currency that could be used was Bitcoin.
Interesting.
And in the spirit of free market, libertarian, anarcho-capitalist as we were, remember, like Bitcoin was you are your own bank. No one can control you or tell you what you can and cannot do. Bitcoin really, like what Courtney was saying, was and still is very much so a social experiment. I mean, the fact that we're going to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve in the U.S. means that we've succeeded to some extent. But I've written about this extensively, that literally Bitcoin was a social experiment. If enough people take this finite thing that never existed before, taken seriously and have value.
I always saw about the PayPal story.
Yeah, and back in the day, PayPal used to laugh me. Used to laugh at us out of the office. They wouldn't accept us working with them. They thought Bitcoin was a scam, and we would even set up our booth at conferences just next to them as missionaries. We don't like their religion, come to our religion. We're better, and we would literally convert people person by person doing stuff like that. And now PayPal make some of their largest income buying and selling and holding Bitcoin and crypto for people. So it's kind of crazy how that happened. But Bitcoin was a social experiment. And back in the early days, Silk Road was a website that you can do all these things. So sellers can go and sell anything. So people were selling things from weed, fake IDs, even heavier drugs.
So is it all bad things? I mean,
No. No, it was my lawyer did a study, and it was 80% of it was weed.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty much people experimenting, baking brownies at home and stuff like that.
And
Anyways,
there was no shopping, no clothes on it or shoes or purses.
no, you can go to eBay for that. This was literally
That's why I was.
the Silk
That's
Road.
clearly why I am not familiar with it. Why I was never on it.
And it only existed on this deep web called Tor, which is very easy to get on and make it it's a big deal. You just download this app and then you go on Tor and you go to Silk Road. But it was more of it gave Bitcoin a lot of its early value, because the early Bitcoiners, to get more Bitcoin before my exchange, was you were selling things on the Bitcoin chat groups. So people would sell honey. They'd sell alpaca socks. I sold
Anything to get more Bitcoin.
Yeah, I sold JetBlue vouchers that I was buying from other people at a discount. So I was buying JetBlue vouchers off of people.
And then there was kind of not a lot of risk.
There's no risk, because as soon as someone sends me Bitcoin, it opened up my whole. It's amazing, because on the internet at the time, to sell things, you needed to have a credit card processing account. But here, I can literally get my hands on any type of thing, and I can sell it on the internet, and I'm just taking in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I don't have a chargeback risk. So the flourishing economy started.
Yeah, I like
and that's
it.
what gives Bitcoin value. It's a beautiful thing. Trump had actually pardoned the creator of Silk Road, and he's free now. He served 12 years in prison.
Oh, wow.
12 years.
So how did you get mixed up with all this?
I remember I was the only way to buy and sell Bitcoin back in the day. So people were buying Bitcoin from us in order to go on Silk Road to buy other things, allegedly. I was the only way to buy Bitcoin. It didn't take a smart person to put two and two together, Yeah, we were. And also, what Courtney was saying was Bitcoin wasn't considered money back then. I was running this Bitcoin company out of my parents' basement. I was cleaning my own toilets. I was a compliance officer. And then, so a couple of months as Bitcoin started to gain steam, and a lot of it was my own doing, because I was going to the government and I was asking for good regulations and stuff. The government came out with a paper saying that all Bitcoin businesses are now considered money transmitters. So we shut down our company. And then 6 months later, I was arrested, just out of the blue. I was arrested out of the blue. Courtney and I were just dating 8 months. I was supposed to be actually giving a speech at the Senate in D.C.
So it almost sounds like by trying to do the right thing,
Oh, yeah.
you get in trouble. I mean, why we sort of taught our kids, if you ever get arrested, don't say anything. Just ask for, a lawyer, ask for your parents, and, don't lie, but don't offer up any information.
They were trying to like interview Courtney, and she was like,
I've seen Law and Order. I'm not saying a word.
We're not having.
But they
a
were
Law and
laughing.
Order
Like even the
moment.
agents were laughing. Like it was such a comical arrest. Like it's
Say it was comical.
comical in that it was so it was just shouldn't have been like the whole thing. Like hundreds of agents arrested me. Like shut down the whole airport terminal for like an hour.
But you served
Yeah. Oh my God.
Time
I
in-
unplugged something. Oh, maybe I didn't.
you served time in prison, so obviously it wasn't comical.
No. I not only that.
Where did you serve your time?
So I ended up doing like a year of house arrest before that. Had to like declare all of my assets, all of my Bitcoin, everything that we had. They basically said that you had like they added up everything I had, and that was a fine. So I paid $1 million like civil forfeiture, and then my lawyer was like, whatever's left over is mine. So like the lawyer and my government, like watching them split your assets, just like it's just gone. I was planning to just go into prison at zero, and Courtney had to support me. So I did a year of house arrest, pled guilty because I knew I was guilty. Of course, like it was black and white. Government said this is now a law. I had my company. I broke the law. Didn't have a money transmitter license, and so I was arrested with a lot of crazy fanfare, and then they sentenced me to two years in prison, and I ended up going up to Lewisburg Federal Prison in Pennsylvania.
What was that like?
I mean, there's so many questions to that. Like, yeah, it was really, really bad, right? Like really bad, really traumatic, and affects me till today in a very big way, but also in a really positive way too. Like in a really good, it was like one of the best gifts and blessings I could have ever gotten, but also like one of the best curses that I could have. So it was like kind of like both in between. Like our life has been and will always be extremes. You get the best and then you get the worst, and that's kind of like how it's been.
Which is in a way, some way, and not to downplay, but how life is. And our viewers certainly can't see, but I'm looking at your wife right now, who's teary-eyed, and I think that it's remarkable because the relationship you guys have is great, and I'm saying from experience, I'm very
we have a great
intuitive
life.
and I'm visual in how I watch people interact with one another, and you guys clearly have a very strong, tight bond, which is wonderful to see. But obviously it was traumatic as I take a look at your partner in life, who obviously loves you dearly, get very choked up, all this time later just talking about it.
You don't like on the surface level, the brain doesn't like remember all the bad stuff. Like you only like, or at least my brain does. Like I don't
Thank
sleep
God.
at night and remember trauma. Like the best sleeper. We joke. It's like I'm the best sleeper. I knock on wood, just sleep amazing. Like just rock hard sleep. I never have nightmares about. I do have nightmares about prison sometimes and stuff. Like it definitely boils to the surface, but it's like you just move on and you forget the bad. We laugh, we tell jokes, and we have good stories, and there are good parts of it. Like I'm writing a book now about it, and it's really hard to remember the bad parts. You only and not that, but 99% of it was bad. But it's just one of these things the brain just doesn't want to keep bad stuff. It just deletes trauma, and it moves on.
And if this is too personal, please don't answer
Absolutely
it.
not.
But,
Nothing's too personal.
Well, my question is, you talk about like it being so bad. I'm curious what the worst part of it was, but then what the best part of it was and what you got out of it.
The best part about it is you really learn how to be very, like Courtney and I are very like aware of human like emotion, and you have to be like very self-aware. You have to like kindness, to accept kindness from people and love and the deep emotions and the deep relationships that you have with people on the inside, but then how you learn how to have deep relationships. the ability to connect with people so instantly now. Like, I know most other people can't do the things that we do, and it helps in business. So there's all like really good positives. Like on the inside, can't tell you how many good stories of like friendships and meals that were shared between people, and conversations, and the learning, the knowledge, the things that you'd never like do on the outside, and the self-confidence, just the ability to like sit alone and be quiet in an alone room without a phone or anything. I would walk around with a paperback book all the time. I learned how to not mind waiting. I don't care for waiting anymore, waiting in lines, just waiting. And like I don't like lines, but like waiting is okay. And there were so many like, learned how to cook everything in a microwave. I don't know. There were so many just, I really got, the best part about prison is that you develop a baseline for how really shitty life can be. And so everything else is just good. Like every little thing in life to us, we like Courtney and I get very, we get fight or flight mode, but I guess we get very excited about very small little things.
What a great way to go through life.
Yeah,
to get
and that
excited
really
about the
like,
small things.
Our friends make fun of us because we eat just the way we eat meals. Yeah. We go to a restaurant and we eat every meal as if it's like our last meal we're ever going to eat. Order 3 desserts. Order anything you want.
Like when we travel, we always do food tours.
Yeah, you have to.
We love food. We just love the culture, and it's just a way to learn.
Yeah.
I'm excited you just mentioned that you're working on a book, because right now, as you're mentioning all these things, and everyone has a story to tell, and just your way of looking at life now, your outlook on life, your happiness, your joy. What is the book about?
Pretty much about the story. It's gonna start of like it's gonna follow Courtney. It's gonna follow me, and it follows a bunch of other kind of misfit characters who were very dear to me in the early days of Bitcoin. A lot of people crisscross different paths. A lot of people don't really understand like just the talks that we've had now. Like Bitcoin got to where it is today, and crypto exists because of really just a couple of dozen people that really
couple dozen nerds or geeks or computer people who wanted to fit in, like all of us do.
You wouldn't have ChatGPT today without Bitcoin. You wouldn't have. It's all forked from the same technology. All AI wouldn't exist. AI agents wouldn't exist without crypto tokens. The backbone of the new internet as we know it today is all using that same technology that Satoshi invented. It's all from that. Because before that, do you remember like when Bitcoin was invented, even going and having a website to check online banking, like banks didn't even do that. You couldn't send payments from one bank to another. It was like such a backwards world we were living in. That's why the great financial crisis happened. Wall Street was able to do all these funky, crazy things behind closed doors. Now with crypto, everything is transparent. Everything exists on chain. And so if all finance and all contracts exist on this transparent blockchain world, then no one could embezzle and do corruption or do all these shady things. So that's why they're like a good future is a future with crypto.
So after having gone to prison and you had the love and support of your wonderful, beautiful wife, Courtney, what was it like with other people, your friends, your family? I mean, people can just be people who you think are your best friends can be your worst enemy when it comes to being judged or when you falter. Or so tell us a little bit about that. You talk
and you asked about the bad too. I mean, you definitely find out who your real friends are. And like, you're allowed, they tell when you walk into prison, you're supposed to bring a list with you of 30 people. It's only 30 that you're allowed to send letters to, because like even mailing things, it's censorship. And then there's like this email type of thing where you can type out a letter to someone and then the prison will mail it for you. It takes a day, so it goes back and forth, back and forth.
And they read it first.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I couldn't even fill 30 people. Like that's how little people I had in my corner going into prison. Like I just saw the list.
How many people did you have?
Probably 15 or 20. But like even the people that I filled it with, they meant nothing to me. Like it was like there were very few people that I was even close to. Like, my whole family abandoned me. All my cousins, uncles, every friend from high school and elementary school, most of my friends from college. Like, I was completely abandoned by every single person.
Well, clearly, Charlie, those people have never, ever, ever in their life made a mistake or done something wrong.
No.
So, you know.
I was easy to write off. I was like a young kid doing this crypto nerd thing, and at the time there were a lot of other. I was bucketed into the hackers group, so there were a lot of like other hackers doing a lot of bad shit on the internet, and so I was very easy to like throw Charlie in prison and throw away the key type of thing. So mentally and emotionally, it was very easy to write me off.
And hearing that story is why I so love that expression. Those in glass houses should not throw stones, because I think if we took a second before we judge someone for whatever it is in life, either an addiction, alcohol, drugs, an affair, doing something in a job, I don't care what it is, you should pause for a second and take a look at yourself.
Oh yeah.
Before you're so quick to point the finger at somebody else.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Most people today constantly.
People assume that we have like this easy life.
No.
You think still today people assume?
Oh yeah, because they think we're just super billionaires that we just got early and got Bitcoin, we got lucky and stuff like that. But everything that we have today was rebuilt from the kindness of the only people that didn't discount me was the Bitcoin community. They were wearing free Shrem T-shirts. I mean, Courtney's grandma wore the free shirt. Courtney's family became my family. Her grandma, her whole family would visit me in prison at least once a month. You only get once a month. But what happened was, when the tide washed out with all these people who you thought were your friends and your family, because they have to love you. Your family has to love you. They're born, people that you go to school with, you're around them. They have to, you're in their life. When that tide went away, and then for a while you have really no one, and you just had Courtney and her family. What had happened was slowly, like, people started coming out of the cracks and out of the nooks and crannies, and people that you never thought would show kindness for no reason would just write letters, send you things, send money to your commissary account, start saying, oh, I'll take care of whatever you need on the outside. Like, just kindness, like, such a beautiful thing. Like, no reason for it. People don't have, like, you're in prison. And so that, you really learn that, and that is such a beautiful thing. And so that was one of the best things that you get out of prison. It's just like pure, unadulterated, nice people doing nice things for other people for wanting nothing in return.
So do you find that has triggered something in your life where you can take that and, give back and do kind things and do, something for people that
of course,
there's no reason that you would do it?
The best thing to do in the world is to give. The more you give, the more you find. You just have to find channels to give what you are the best at. So if you're amazing at something, whatever it is, just find ways to give your services. Like, not for free, there's value to your time, but just contribute and try to make other people money and try to bring value to other people's lives, because sometimes those people are kindness and back, and what they give back to you is like tenfold. Like, I had one friend from back then, kindness, like, started reaching out to me. He was like an owner of a small New York newspaper. Until today, we're best friends. And we didn't need to stay in touch. When I went to prison, still wrote to me. And we just stayed friends over the years. And then now just gave me one of the biggest business opportunities of my life. And it's just because good kindness over the years from people. So I always say that,
I'm so glad we covered that, and I hope that's reiterated in your book, because when we live in a world with such negativity, and then I mention how people are so quick to judge and, kick you when you're down.
Yeah.
It's so nice to be reminded that there still are people in this world who are just truly
I don't know where
good
they all
people.
went.
Yeah, to keep going through these stories, but I think it's important for people to hear what we went through, because then people can relate if they ever get in an unfortunate circumstance or situation, that they can learn for how to like look at the bright side, because that's basically what we had to do, was literally look at the bright side every single day for 18 months. And we couldn't be together. And, you know, we have these monitored postal emails that
Our whole relationship developed where you only get, 10 minutes a day on the phone? So how did we do our phone?
you had it down to a science with minutes of how
300
many
minutes a
times
month.
we could talk.
10 minutes a day. So we had, and no rollover. And so if you run out with 2 weeks to go, you can't talk for 2 weeks on the phone. So we always ran out.
And there's times that
Always
he
ran out.
would be on lockdown and they won't tell me anything. I mean,
No,
I
never
don't
did.
know if he's alive. You know, I was living like that for 18
There was
months.
a lot of
It's
violence
just,
and threats every day and bad shit. Like you asked about the bad thing. I mean, you're in prison. You have a crew. You have your car, as they call it, your gang. I had my 4 or 5 guys, and you financially share resources together, like even for security. Like this stuff really exists. Courtney literally had to work to send me money so I can contribute to the finances of my group. And if I couldn't contribute to the finances of my group because we all ate together, we did things together, then I would be kicked out of that group. And if you're a lone wolf in prison, you're screwed. So Courtney had to take care of me.
I will say too, we were saying, you know, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. We talked about this last time I was on the show. And, you know, even though it's a blessing in disguise, it really taught you how you kind of have to just stay low and just not stick out and not stand out. And I think that's really important in life in general, because the more you stand out, I think you'll get the evil eye. And I think when you stay quiet and you just stay to yourself and just stay in your lane, as you say, you know, I think that's the best, to stay quiet, because then you don't have people mess with you.
You're right. That's true humility. People don't like talked about humility or being humble because it's like, what humble person wants to talk about being humble? It's like anti-humility to talk about it. But true acts of humility is just to not get a reaction. Don't get trolled. Don't react emotionally. I struggle with it every single day, but it's like the evil eye. You don't want to show off, and that's the worst. I'm very fortunate. Courtney's career has been killing it especially the last couple of years. You've been doing an average of like 4 to 5 films a year. So it's nice because every quarter you get to like build up a project. I get to see you do this work, and then it leads up into this amazing trip, because the shooting is usually somewhere.
We
we've
treat
never
it like
been
a
before.
vacation, yeah.
We treat it like a vacation. We get to live on this movie set, and a movie set is like, it's the hardest working people. I've never met people who work harder than people on a film set. Like the devotion, and it's like, it's 100 people usually, and they're in a random place together, so it's an immediate family. It's like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. It's always 18-hour days. It's always crazy. And then they work towards, everyone has a little piece that they contribute, and they work towards this beautiful piece of art that lasts forever. Mm-hmm. It's like, I was talking to Tom, I texted my friend Tom this morning. I was like, if we could just spend the rest of our years just doing this, because just making movies, living on film sets, and doing it over, watch and repeat. It's like true happiness.
And those might be the most humble people, because let's be honest, all of those people working together in that community, the guys running the dolly, the grips, the people working with, building the actual...
The set design.
Set design, what have you, the people doing all the
even
clothing,
even the
they
script
get paid,
supervisor.
no money, and they're such an integral part of the movie.
They find a lot of joy in their work. They have to, or else they wouldn't be doing it. And so I like that, because it reminds me of the early Bitcoin community. That early Bitcoin community is kind of like gone now. Everyone knows about it. But the film industry, especially being on a film set, it reminds me of the magic of the early Bitcoin community. And I do miss that. There's a nostalgia in that.
It's almost like we all go to war together for a short amount of time, and then you always have that experience with those people for the rest of your life. And I just think that is so special that you still get to stay in touch with these people to this day too, So,
That's amazing. I love that you've always been an entrepreneur, even in high school, right?
Sorry, our alarm went off. I think
Yeah.
in our house really quick. I'm so
Oh.
sorry. I don't want the police to get called.
yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I think it's our housekeeper. She just got there. That's so funny.
Charlie, if you can bring up the feelings in your book and create what you've just created here in the last, 15 minutes, having the discussion about, what you did with Bitcoin, going to prison, how that affected you and your relationship with Courtney, and the trauma you have after. If you can evoke those same feelings, there is zero doubt in my mind that your book will be a New York Times bestseller.
Thank you. It's a lot harder said than done.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier said than done. I need to find someone who could like interview like you guys are, and then it gets written down and it's like in a format that's.
And someone that we
reader.
really trust.
I need to
can
figure it out.
Take us the right
The
direction.
feelings and the emotions
need to
are
go
palpable with listening to you tell your story. There are so many depths to what you've been through. It's not just about Bitcoin and then going to jail. The depth of your story, and I think actually how it could relate to just people
I know.
in their own lives and how they go about living their own life. I truly think it could be remarkable.
No,
It's very kind.
Thank you so much. I've been working on it. Like I actually been working on it since the day we met. Been writing journals and writing posts and different things out and all my stuff. The writings during prison and after prison. So the work can be done. It's hard.
It is hard. It's hard to write.
Oh yeah, writing a
Sure.
book is not easy.
Definitely difficult.
I was about to do it, but now I'm working on this project that I can't talk about.
That you can't talk
Another
about.
secret project.
Another.
Well, we ask every guest to give us some advice that they would give their younger self. What advice
Oh,
would
my
you
advice, my younger
If you
self.
were talking to 10-year-old Charlie,
Courtney and I were talking about this the other day. It was like, my parents never said, Charlie, everything is going to be okay. Chill out. I had so much anxiety as a kid that I wasn't going to get into the high school. I wasn't going to get into the college. I wasn't going to have any friends. Things weren't going to work out. Like my parents I never remember any times like where they were just like, it's going to be fine. Like, we'll take care of it. Like, you'll be good. There's a path. Like, life is good. It's happy. Like, everything just felt in the, that's why I had to leave my family before I met Courtney. Like, I just left. I wrote a note to everything was just so negative growing up. And like, it seemed like there was pain and my whole life was preset for me and everything. So I would definitely tell my younger self to chill out. Right?
yeah.
I like that a lot.
The other thing that I wanted to say, and I don't like to talk about it because I don't want people to give the evil eye. But one of the best things in life that I got from prison is the ability to, like I was saying, the small happiness. And I really try to tell people like to look for that, like to find small things that really make you happy and just like do those things to fill your time when you're not working or you're not spending time with your family, whether it's like reading books or it's like small things of happiness. That's really it.
Would you say the middle space as opposed to the slow space?
Is that like, it's so like life is all about is like you're doing really fast, like you're traveling, you're working, you're doing big deals. Then you have other times where you're on vacation, you're chill, you're reading a book, you're just doing mellow. Those times are good. It's the middle space of life that stresses us all out because we want to either get back to the fast-paced part or we want to get back to the slow. So the best advice is to just be in either. Be in the really fast or be in the really slow.
Are you saying like the idle?
Yeah,
like
the
the
idle
idle
time.
spaces.
I would agree with that. That makes a lot of sense because I always say that I am a creature of routine. I like to have routine. And so I get up, I do this, I, go to work, I'm doing my workout, and it's those times when I don't have a routine
Yes.
that cause me stress.
Us too.
So it's like a perfect day is take a couple of hours and just do crazy shit. Like go to the gym, do your podcast, work. Like you could bunch all of your heavy work crazy stuff in like a couple of hours. Then the rest of the day, take walks, meditate, read, figure out how to make the next day's super crazy shit better. but don't wallow in the middle and just wait for something to happen and like it's not happening, like all that other shit. Like, because then it's not doing anything good.
We were really looking forward to having you here today and to learning more about you and Bitcoin. And yeah, this has been better than I could have expected. How about you, Lauren?
Way better than I could have expected.
Yeah.
I had a lot of joy hanging out here.
Well, now I'm in my mind, I'm going through like, ooh, names of a book, like fuck the middle space, like don't do this in the middle space. It's
I have a page with like 10 titles that I have to choose from. I can't decide.
Well, I look forward to having you back when you've written the book.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want a part in the movie when when the movie comes out.
Yeah, me too.
He's going to be casting.
Okay, good. Courtney, keep us in mind. I'll be in the background. It's okay.
I want to play Courtney.
Oh, you can play Courtney. I'm okay being an extra.
That's a good idea.
I can be an extra. Yeah, I think Courtney wants to play Courtney. She's pretty good at this acting thing.
We had a conversation about this.
You're gonna
like
play
we were
me, but I
saying,
can't play me.
no, but remember I said it's almost like
Who would play you? Let's end with that. Who would play you, Charlie?
I have no idea. Some other people, maybe younger Charlie. It depends. Whoever the young actor.
I would think like some kind of like the Social Network.
They have software.
Cast
that
or
takes pictures,
something.
Yeah.
Kieran Culkin.
But he's old now.
He's not that old.
Just won an Oscar.
I know he just won an Oscar.
He's older now.
What better than having an Oscar winner play you?
Isn't
great.
he your age?
I don't know. Yeah, he is my age. No, he would be great. He's he's neurotic. He'd be great, actually.
All right, we've got it all figured out.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Your
Thank you,
casting is all
guys.
done. Thank you so much. And what do we always say?
Peace out, Girl Scout.
Peace out, everyone. Till next time.